Well, it's Wednesday, and you all know what that means. That means once again we have AEW Dynamite with Grand Slam and Arthur Ashe. Anything could happen. We are so excited because we have the title versus title match, the international titles on the line, the women's title, and of course the world title on the line, and various other special matches. We're definitely going to be soon. But first things first, we're going to review some events from Japan. First one is going to be Baka Gaijin and Friends Volume 8. There's going to be some entertainment going on, and I can't wait to review all of this for all of you. And then, of course, we have GLEAT with G Pro Wrestling 6 version 60 with Max Voltage. We have some interesting matches, but this one also features the debut and one of the possible last matches of the Pirate Princess, KAIRI. But we cap it up with, of course, with some news updates, what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events the promotions are throwing out, who's booked, and who in what matches are set, any injured wrestlers or departing wrestlers or signed wrestlers, the whole enchilada. So let's get ready for another episode of the Leaded Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Leaded Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Jay right here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we review a lot of pro wrestling from various promotions around the world, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere in the world. Of course, where wrestling is not big, but it's growing. And of course, we have some other cool stuff we do, such as the discussions, more news updates that I will not put on this episode, that I'll put later, and of course, the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other things. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews like this. And of course, if you like this episode, please give us a like button right there or give us a nice comment in the bottom. So let's get started with our very first review, and it's going to be Baka Gaijin and Friends Volume 8. Our first match opened up with Antonio Honda taking on none other than Yoshihiko. Yes, everybody loves Yoshihiko. If you guys know who he is, he's that doll that people love to watch. I thought this was a very entertainment match. Now, the last entertainment that I see with Yoshihiko was in a previous Baka Gaijin Friends where he was facing against Chris Brooks, where Chris Brooks tossed him off the roof. But he survived. But in this case, Antonio Honda had to be a lot more smarter than he. But however, when the referee was knocked down, apparently Antonio Honda was attacked by Mr. Shadow. Now, if you guys never seen Yoshihiko, there's always a guy dressed in black. They call him Shadow because he actually does things that, of course, a doll cannot do. So, like tosses him or doing things like that. However, the doll, Mr. Shadow, attacked Antonio Honda and gave him a CR2, and then all of a sudden just left. But Yoshihiko just pinned. No one knows who it is, but there was a beard on right on when the mask was shown a little bit. Now the guy who was doing commentary saying he's not sure if he thought who it was, but we'll see what this means. Now, our next match, we have Mecha Mummy along with Mad Dr. Ueko taking on Hiroshima. Now, if you guys ever seen Mecha Mummy, he's this mummy, looked like a machine and all this other stuff. I thought it was a very entertaining match. But of course, at some point, when the referee is once again knocked down, Mad Dr. Ueki shows up and gives him a helping hand. But at some point, there was a misfired by Mecha Mummy taking out the doctor himself. I thought that was pretty funny. But however, it was Hiroshima who actually picked up the win when he applied, I don't like a somewhat version of the Shining Wizard, but from what the commentator was calling it, it was like called Somato. I'm not sure if I heard that correctly, so I may have to look it up again, but it was a very entertaining thing. So Hiroshima won by using that, but however, the Mad Doctor was still remaining. Apparently, he ended up having a match with none other than Balinaki. Now, Balinaki had like this white stuff on his face, something that the Mad Doctor was doing himself, but it ended up being into a match. But however, it was a very interesting matchup because once again the referee gets knocked down when things seems like they're going well, and Mecha Mummy shows up. Apparently, Mecha Mummy tried to use the rocket punch. It was a failure. It knocked out the Doctor, and then Balanaki pulled up a Kuma roll, and just like that, it was over from there. So uh, that's two. That's two losses right there for the Doctor and Mecha Mummy. Now, our main event features CDK, Masahiro Takanashi, and Chris Brooks taking on another version of CDK parody, consisted of Mao calling himself the son, Chris Brooks Jr., and of course, Chico Shikawa dressed up like Masa. I thought it was very entertaining, but of course, you think CDK is going to tolerate with them doing that? The answer to that is hell no. So basically, they went on a vicious streak. You probably would have assumed that there was going to be, CDK will get the little redemption. Well, they kind of did when they managed to do a combination submission pinfall on both competitors, but Chi's shoulders were touching the mat. It was over from there. But however, they were approached by two wrestlers coming straight from Thailand for the setup promotion. Basically, they issued a challenge against those two CDK. The guys is Dr. Gore and of course Momonos. I thought this match was going to be interesting, but as always, CDK proven why they are one of the most interesting tag teams we've seen so far. They were able to pick up the win thanks to Chris Brooks when he applied the praying mantis onto what was it on Momonos, giving them the win. I thought the show was very entertaining, but if you guys like, you could check it out on the YouTube channel. All you gotta do is write Baka Gaijin and Friends, and that's how you see it. I think that's pretty much it what we have. So let's move on with our next review, and I believe that is GLEAT. Okay, GLEAT, G Pro Wrestling version 60, known as Max Voltage. It opened up with tag team action with the Yans family consisting of Issei Onitsuka and Masato Kamino. They take on the combination of Jun Tonsho and Yu Isuka. So, as you know, the Yans family has been making a name themselves since the formation. I think they're a pretty interesting team since we only seeing half of right now of the team itself. But it was a pretty good match. However, it was of course um, a lariat by Kamino that put away Isuka, giving the Yans family the win. However, as soon as this match was over, the other members, consistent of Takanori Ito and of course um, Yusuke Kodama, remained in the ring since they were giving Onizuka and Kamino their support. They jump into the ring because their opponents are none other than Bulk Orchestra's Kazuma Sakamoto and of course Czech Shimatani. Now, of course, Bulk Orchestra had been one of or being the number one faction within GLEAT. However, were facing one half of the team. So the obvious thing when I watched this, I was thinking, okay, can the Yans family pull off 2 wins so far? Well, to my surprise, they did. It was thanks to none other than a frog splash by Kodama to check Shimatani as soon as, of course, Takanori Ito put away a check once and for all to give Kodama to do the final blow, and just like that, 2 for 2 for the Yans family. So they're really growing popularity. So I can't wait to see what else they're going to do. Now, our next match, we have a very interesting singles match. We have Tetsuya Izushi taking on Jade Cargill. Now, I know some of you, if you guys know who Jade Cargill is, you probably say, oh, he definitely has it. But you got to remember, in this storyline, when it comes to Tetsuya Isushi, he's trying to make a name for himself since the disbandment of his faction, 60 Seconds. So that kind of puts in an advantage where he has to become more stronger than ever. However, he was very clever enough to know how much Jack Cartwheel can do high flying maneuvers. There was one moment where, of course, he had to maneuver his knees to give the final blow. But however, it was, of course, a somewhat version by Izushi with a. It looks more like a hoverboard lock like Kashima, but I'm not sure if it was modified. So I just call it the modified hoverboard because it was like a different version of it. But that's what it was, and of course, Jack Cartwheel had no other choice but to tap. Next up, we have a very interesting tag team. We have Yuma Suzumu and Soma Watanabe taking on Kaz Hayashi and Minoru Tanaka. Now, recently we have seen Suzumu and Watanabe becoming a good, stable tag team. They're not part of a faction or anything. We know that Black Generation International tried to recruit Yuya Suzumu, but he had no intentions. But teaming up with Watanabe, I think those two could be potential challengers for the G Infinity titles. But they're currently in the possession of Voodoo Murder's Saito brothers. But we'll see when we get there. But I have this. This was a very interesting match because you got a bit of the old school wrestlers facing off the newer. And of course, I was always been impressed by Suzumu and Watanabe, but it was Watanabe who picked up the win by applying a 450 splash on Kaz Hayashi. So in no time, I do believe Watanabe and Suzumu will eventually make their way to the G Infinity tag titles, and they'll probably challenge the Saito brothers for them. So it's only time will tell until they make that decision. Next up, we have Bulk Orchestra, consisting of Quiet Storm and Ryuki Kawakami. They team up with Daisuke Sakimoto, taking on the members of Black Generation International, or BGI, consisting of Kotaro Suzuki, Keishi Sato, and Harley Jackson. Now, keep in mind, these two factions hate each other. Now, BGR are trying to determine that they are stepping in as the dominating team right now. However, Bulk Orchestra, who has been somewhat of the fan favorites amongst spectators, are holding their own. But Daisuke Sakimoto, he's not an official member, but they put him as an honorary member. But I wouldn't be surprised if somehow they convince him to join. I mean, it would be an interesting benefit for them. I mean, he does have the build. I mean, they're all about muscle and all that stuff, and I think he's the right guy. So only time will tell. But it was, of course, Quiet Storm with a big lariat to put away Keiichi Sato. Sato, he's the newest guy, and he's the one who's getting all the falls from this. I don't know why BGI recruited him in the first place. But Folk Orchestra continues. They can still hold their own against BGI. Now, our semi-main event. This one is the one we're expecting. The Joshi wrestlers taking the stage. We have Janai Kai and Michiko from Diamond Egoist. They team up with prominent Kurumi Hiragi. They take on Yukari Hosokawa, Nana Takahashi, and of course our favorite pirate princess, KAIRI. So this is one of her last matches in Japan. So if you guys know friends who want to see her, you guys can look it up on the YouTube channel. All you got to do is find GLEAT, and it's on the YouTube channel. But I have to say it was a pretty good match because, as you know, recently we know that Michiko has been at war with Unagi, but she's not currently involved because I was gonna do an Unagi Sayaka watch real soon, but we'll get to that at some point. However, in this case, of course, we did see KAIRI, who they tried to separate, of course, Yukari Hosokawa, who's the weakest link of the group. But however, of course, she's determined to pick up a win, even if she doesn't make the initial. She knows she has to tag Nana Takahashi and KAIRI. But however, Michiko has her sights set on one particular person, and that is KAIRI. Now, keep in mind, Michiko always proven how dominant she can be. But however, when it comes to KAIRI, she's even more dominant than her. So that's always a hierarchy. In Michiko's mind, you know perfectly well, if she defeats KAIRI, she become one of those competitors that can say, I defeated the Pirate Princess. But, however, that wasn't the case because she got back fist, and then of course insane elbow, and just like that, KAIRI wins the match. And I'm sure Hikari Hosokawa is very happy to team up with a well-recognized Joshi wrestler from Japan, and that sort of sets the whole thing. So I can't wait to see what Unagi will do when she comes back. But at the moment, KAIRI, this is for her last match, so you guys should check it out if you're a big-time KAIRI fans. Now our main event, it features a very interesting match. We have a bit of a showdown between the GLEAT roster members, more specific members from Strong Style, consisting of El Lindaman and the current G-Rex champion T-Hawk, teaming up with Junji from China. They take on the members from All Japan Pro Wrestling. We got the Oyagi brothers, Asuki Oyagi and his big brother Yuma Oyagi, who is the current Triple Crown champion, and of course they're being accompanied by Shuji Ishikawa. This match was pretty good. I have to say it was a very interesting showdown between both brands. But however, it was Ishikawa who picked up the win when he applied a somewhat of a razor's edge on Junji to pick up the win. However, he called out T-Hawk, who is the current G-Rex champion, so he issued a challenge towards him. And I'm sure T-Hawk will not tolerate a guy like him issuing the challenge, but he's willing to defend it because, as you know, the G Infinity titles are not currently being held by anybody from GLEAT. They're being held by wrestlers from All Japan, and I'm sure deep down T-Hawk knows that he cannot afford to lose this title to All Japan. So we'll see what happens until then. I think that's pretty much it. So let's move on with our last and final review, AEW Dynamite Grand Slam. Okay, it's that time of year again. AEW makes their way to Arthur Ashe in New York City for Grand Slam. And I'm so excited for this because this is going to be a huge event. Now, it opened up with, of course, with the title versus title match. The Ring of Honor World Championship and the New Japan Strong Openweight Championship. Claudio Castagnoli taking on Eddie Kingston. This is a very interesting storyline. You know the whole story, how much um, Eddie has hated and disliked Claudio, but he respects him as a wrestler, but not as a person, he doesn't. But of course, Claudio has his own opinions towards Eddie and all this other stuff. So it was more like who is going to be the better man. So apparently this is how it's going to end. So you consider this as the final chapter in the feud between Claudio and Eddie Kingston. So that kind of sets it in for everyone. And I have to say it was a fantastic opener. I mean, you saw Claudio using whatever he has in his arsenal to put away Eddie. But however, of course, Eddie would not give in no matter what he tried to do. I mean, he tried the Northern Light Bomb, the back fist, but it was finally a power bomb to put away Claudio, and now he's a double champion. But instead of having Bryce Springberg, who in the ref, hand him over the title, he wanted Claudio to do the honorable thing. Get past the title to him, shake hands, that's the end of it. And of course, the entire arena stadium went bananas, and that's how it all begins. So I can't wait to see how the Ring of Honor Honor Club's gonna feel now with Eddie as their new champion, and of course, who will be in line to challenge him. That's the big question. So we'll see. Now, as you know, the Kingdom has been on the side of Roderick Strong since the whole thing with Adam Cole and MJF was becoming a toll. Adam went to see him to see how is he doing. Basically, he knows that Samoa Joe is someone. So basically, he told him to go with MJF just to give him some support and all that. So we'll see how that rolls around. Now, during an interview with Renee Paquette, apparently Christian Cage, as you know, he's a bit agitated towards Darby Allin for many whiles. He refuses to accept that Darby Allin will be the one to dethrone him. Well, honestly, as Luchasaurus, who's the TNT champion. So he decided to do the unthinkable. He decided that on Collision that he's going to put himself in a three-way match. It's going to be Darby Allin, Christian Cage, and Luchasaurus for the TNT title. Now, this is a very unfair advantage for Darby, but Christian should know, don't ever underestimate the resilience of Darby Allin. Many wrestlers have underestimated him for a long time. And of course, the one interesting moment is Sting is barred from ringside. So he doesn't want him because he feels like he's taking an unfair advantage. I wouldn't be surprised if Nick Wayne shows up or AR Fox. So that's going to be interesting to see. So we'll see what happens until then. But don't forget, on Rampage, we have Sting and Darby Allin teaming up against Luchasaurus and Christian Cage. Now, our next match, we have Chris Jericho versus Sammy Guevara. Now, keep in mind, this is one of those matches where, of course, they have to push themselves to the limit. I mean, of course, Jericho would know what Sammy Guevara's tricks are or his move sets. Same thing with Sammy and to Jericho. But however, the one interesting thing, we've seen some crazy things that happen. Like if you guys remember the shooting star press with Randy Orton, we saw something similar, but instead of the RKO, it was with the code breaker. So Sammy applied a shooting star, then the code breaker was being countered, and boom, Jericho won the match. And of course, things seems like they were going to bury the hatchet, but however, Sammy actually low blowed Jericho, and guess who showed up right there during the post match? The most despicable person on the planet, Don Callis. So he seems more he got what he wanted to see, the demise of Jericho. I wouldn't be surprised if Jericho reaches out to Kenny for help to deal with Don Callis. So that's only what happened. But later on, we did see Renee Paquette try to get answers. Is Sammy Guevara now a member of the Don Callis family? Well, Don said they will find out last week, but it doesn't seem like one person is happy to see him for what happened, and that is, of course, Daniel Garcia. But it seems that Don Callis wants Garcia to be part of the family, but we'll see what happens next week. Now, MJF throws out a very interesting message while he's accompanied by Adam Cole, telling him how this is going to end, telling him he's going to choke him out. But as soon as he was finished, Adam Cole gets a call from Roderick's being ecstatic for whatever reason, so he just kind of like left him out for some like that. Just so we'll see what happens until then. Now, our next match is the international title, Jon Moxley versus Rey Fenix. Now, you know this is a revenge situation storyline that we see. As you know, Rey Fenix about a month ago was unable to go to All In thanks to the BCC. And then, of course, what was a while ago? Was it a month ago or last? Well, anyway, earlier this month or whatever. Anyway, he was taken out, so he blamed Jon Moxley and the BCC for this mess. So now he has a perfect opportunity to take on Jon Moxley. But something happened in the match. Now, you guys seen this driver that normally Phoenix does. There was a moment where Bryce Winford noticed that I think there was a moment where Jon Moxley was supposed to kick out, but he did not. So they decided to try again, and boom, just like that, Rey Fenix won the match. Now, I did learn that, of course, Moxley's okay. He has a concussion. I'm sure there's going to be procedures to keep an eye on him. So, but the fact is, Rey Fenix is now the international champion. But as for Moxley, he's going to be okay. I'm sure they're going to keep observing him, going to get a diagnostic, see how things are going. So we'll see what happens until then. Now, Samoa Joe, as you know, sets out another his own message telling MJF that he's going to take everything from him. So basically, we're going to see how this is going to play out. Now, our next match, we have the AEW Women's World Championship, Toni Storm versus Saraya. Now, keep in mind, this is a very interesting matchup. Ruby, of course, is by the side of Saraya. I thought it was a very interesting situation. However, I did not expect Toni Storm to bring out some shoes. Apparently, I think Toni Storm knew that sooner or later Ruby will get involved, so she has to find a way to get rid of her. And keep in mind, I think Toni Storm knew every trick in the book. But however, Toni Storm did try to take out Saraya by trying to break her neck. Now remember, Saraya had neck injury in the past. That's a weak spot that anybody would have detected or been aware of. So apparently it did not work, but it was Saraya that did the nightcap, and 1, 2, 3, she retained the title. So this is, you probably can say maybe Toni Storm is officially out of the Outcast. So we'll see what happens next week. from that or anything else. Now, our main event is the AEW World Title, Samoa Joe and MJF. Now, you know there was going to be some interesting moments, which Joe tried to break the spirit of MJF, try to break him in half in every way possible. Even when it seems like, as you know, with MJF being injured as well, it would have played a good factor for him. But even medical staff tried to evaluate him as fast as possible to see if they can continue, but Joe wasn't happening. He was taking them out. Now, when the moment you saw, of course, Samoa Joe choking out MJF, here comes Adam Cole, tried to motivate him, tried to give him the support, tell him, do not give up. And he was rallying the fans to get behind him. I thought it showed like, oh, even though he still worries about Roddy, he will not turn his back on his best friend, MJF. And of course, he did help out just a little bit, but he did choke out Samoa Joe by using, I'm not sure if it was the tape from that he's using from his wrist. I don't know if he used that. He didn't even use the diamond ring, but it was very. But he got away by choking out, and the ref called it, and he retained the title. So that we'll see what happens until then. We'll see who's the next challenger. But we do know that there's going to be a battle royal to determine who will challenge both MJF and Adam Cole for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team title. So we'll see what happens until then. But right now, let's just end it right here and move on to our last thing we're going to do, news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news update. So this is what we have so far. Wrestling Revolver has announced for their Tales from the Ring show that takes place on October 14th. We're going to have a very interesting match with Steve Macklin taking on Brick Savage from the promotion in Texas, MXP, which is the promotion run by the Monster Hunter Matthew Palmer. Don't know much about him, but I will think this is going to be a big fight to watch. So hopefully I get to see it. Now, this was announced. By the time this is be released, it'll be 22 days. But however, when I'm recording this, it will be 23 days already. Lee Johnson, of course, if you guys have been aware from AEW, he's been dating Julia Hart during the pandemic days, and of course, they announced their engagement, and now they're getting married within 23 days. But by the time this video is uploaded, it will be 22 days. So congratulations. I'm sure we're going to be seeing some wedding photos in those by the time the wedding shows up. So congratulations, guys. As you know, Jade Cargill, is no longer with AEW. But this is what Fightful Select reported. Jade Cargill and her team have nothing but good things to say about how she was treated by AEW on the way out when they made it clear she's not resigning during her brief hiatus. Jade was a professional and agreed to put Chris Statlander over in her final match. AEW found it important to give her a proper standoff. So basically, we have seen these type of matches before when someone initially is planning to leave the promotion. They want to give a proper standoff. We have seen that before. So I'm sure that many of you may not like that, but it's a proper way to do it. But I'm sure in the future, Tony Khan will love nothing more than to have her back if things don't work out for her in WWE. I know what you WWE loyalists will think of it. She will be happy. We'll see how that progresses. So don't count when your chickens hatch. Spark Yoshi-Perusa has announced for 2 more names on 2 different days for the Rising Heat shows. For the West, we have on Trish Adora will be participating on October 11th. And of course, we have Devlin McCombray will be on the 14th at the East. So that's going to be interesting to say. Now, finally, this one was reported by Scott Edwards. You may have seen him in Fightful Select, Voices Wrestling, and so on. Apparently, he gave a bit of the remaining conditions of the 5-star Grand Prix ahead of this weekend. Now, for the Red Stars, it seems are still remaining. For the Red Stars who are still active, We have Natsuko Tora, Tam Nakano, Suzuki, and Azuki remaining. For Blue Stars, Mirai, Julia, Maika, and Mina Shirakawa. Now, this is the situation that's going to happen this weekend, so pay attention. Azuki versus Suzuki. The loser is eliminated in the tournament. So whoever walks out is out. So that's going to be interesting. Now, Mina Shirakawa versus Maika. Mina loses and she's out. Maika loses. She needs Utami Ayashida to compete in the finals, either defending or going to the draw with Julia. The draw keeps both of them alive and gives Maika the edge, as she can win out. And of course, finally, Sudi versus Starlight Kid. Sudi loses, she's out. So basically, times are now hectic. So if Mina loses, she's out. Maika, if she's out, then if Maika loses, she's completely out. And I think that's gonna be a little. So that's why there's difficulties on that. So if Maika loses, she needs Utami to win the final night, either defeating or going into a draw with Julia. But the draw will keeps them both alive, but gives Maika an edge to go on a win. So Maika has a few slim chances to winning. So I do say, as honest opinion, I do believe Maika is one of the people who I do believe could win the tournament. So we'll see what happens this weekend. Haven't seen Date 18 yet, but hopefully I get to see it soon enough. And I think that's pretty much it for what we have. So let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, as you know, we have Thursday, we have MLW, Impact Wrestling, and Ring of Honor. So I'm sure Ring of Honor is going to be very ecstatic seeing their new Ring of Honor World Champion. So we'll see what happens in that. Anything else? I will be doing a quick Unagi Sayaka watch for everyone. So stand by on that one as well. So till then, I must bid all of you adieu. So I will see you on the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.